with Beetlejuice, I was expecting a train wreck, and I didn't get that. It's very easy to be cynical about Hollywood just trying to milk our nostalgia because that's what they do, right? When you boil it all down, it's Tim Burton on screen for 2 hours, and we have not had that in a long time. Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Coddington, my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
Bloody Mary, Candyman, Beetlejuice. Wait, I think I got that wrong.
Yeah, I think you did.
Actually, what I should say for this movie.
I don't know what you were doing with that. Like
I'm like 3 times, you know.
Oh, I know that. But usually you've got like an ism that you just you curveball you throw me, and usually I'm able to get it. But this time I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Well, what I really should have opened it with is for this movie is Beetle fucking mess.
Oh, so you're already going in hard on the negative with this one. You're not even giving it a little bit of leeway. You're just like Beetle mess. Wow, it's gonna be fun.
I mean, it's gonna be all over the place. This is gonna be a very bipolar review for me because part of me loved this, part of me has a lot of issues with it, and part of me is blinded by nostalgia. So it's gonna be, I think, a very interesting breakdown of. I'm gonna try to be as professional and as intellectual about this as possible, and try to keep my emotions at the door. But we're gonna see.
So what you're trying to say, John, is that we will have less dick, fart, and vagina jokes in this one. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Oh no, I'll try to phrase something as like, when you think of how do we glean one's fecal representation.
That's an inside joke that only John and I will get. That is something that we got from film school. John, listen, everyone in our grad cohort, you know exactly what John is referencing with his talk of gleaning. Okay, right, John.
Oh yeah, I believe there was a chapter 8 in Stam's books. The pathagogy.
It was Stam books. It was Stam's book.
Yeah, the pathagogy of Mookie stinks. You know? So yeah,
pathagogy of Mookie stinks. Oh fuck. I mean, all of our audience that didn't know us in grad school have no idea what the fuck we're talking about.
Hang in there with us. We're done now. We're gonna get back on track.
We're gonna get back on track, and I promise, I'm not gonna cut this out to future Brian. I'm not gonna cut this out. So I guess first my question is this, and you kind of already answered it, John. Was this legacy sequel good? And go.
Oh boy. Okay, because I think this is gonna be this whole episode. Part of me says yes, because I think if Michael Keaton had just been on screen taking a dump as Beetlejuice, I would have been like, I'm satisfied. I saw him as Beetlejuice again, and I would have walked out happy. But there's the critic side of me that thinks like I have so many issues with this movie, but I don't know where I draw the line between. I look at this on a technically creative level and an entertainment level, because sometimes those two things can be completely different. We all have films that we go, oh, I love this movie. It's a mess, but I love this movie. One movie we did earlier this year was Maxine. I said, look, I love the movie. I loved it to death, but it's a hot mess. Like it's, I could see how somebody could be like, this movie isn't good at all. And I'm sure they would give me logical reasons. And I would go, I can't necessarily argue with you on that. But so I could see why Beetlejuice is a hot mess, but simultaneously I was entertained, and not just on all the callbacks. Like, I remember that. I got my member berries. So I have a fine line between entertained and criticism.
Interesting. I will go with, I had a lot of fun with this movie. Okay, so for me, I tend to lean more into the entertainment for me. And that is because I went into this having the bar really low, like really low. All right. So like for me, John, this movie was going to be just, am I going to get entertainment out of this? Is it going to make sense to me? And is my daughter going to have fun? Is my wife going to have fun? Is her my daughter's best friend who was with us, are they going to have fun? That's what I went into this as my primary goal, right? Like that was it. That was the primary goal. Now, that being said, did I love this movie? Absolutely. From that point of view. Are there problems with it? Yes. There are some issues with this. Off air, before we started recording, I told John that this movie, to me, upon reflection of it, even though I had fun, I thought it did a hell of a lot better than other legacy sequels that we've seen in recent years. But still, this movie, to me, was a cinematic Chipotle burrito. Okay? John, do you understand what I'm talking about by cinematic Chipotle burrito?
Oh, stuff it all in there, and you're not gonna really maybe even have any of the individual flavors. They're all just gonna mesh together into a mouth-watering slop. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it is. A Chipotle burrito is 100% delicious. Okay? I don't think anyone can say that a Chipotle burrito is not delicious. You know, you throw a little hot sauce on it, especially the salsa that they have. Really good. Really delicious. But it is a massive fucking thing with everything jam-packed. And that's kind of like this movie. This movie was jam-packed with a lot of plot. So much so that you could have taken this movie and stretched it out to be a Netflix series, and it probably would have done better, in my opinion.
Well, it's interesting. Sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
You should say that because he brought his pronouns, pal. Tim Burton brought his writing team from his two main writers from Wednesday, which obviously is,
I can tell.
Yeah, a streaming service, multi-episode show. If you've been living under a rock. But yeah, it does seem like this could be like 6 or 7 episodes. And here's my biggest complaint with this. If I'm looking at it purely from a script point of view, and let's say I'm a script doctor, I don't care one way or another about Beetlejuice, and I just simply know the first film, and I'm taking a look at this script and I'm looking at it as a standalone movie. Does everything like connect in terms of importance from act 1, act 2, the all is lost moment, everything that you put into a script? There are 2 characters in this movie that if you remove them, nothing changes.
Oh yeah, it's true.
Monica Bellucci and the Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe.
I believe his name was what was his name in here? Wolf Jackson.
Wolf Jackson. Okay,
Wolf
sure.
Jackson.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. But I also have notes about that. I have some ideas about that. You know, I really believe that what makes this movie work, okay, on one end of it, okay, is that this movie to me feels very much like it took the original but then mashed in the animated series Beetlejuice. You know, that's the thing most people don't know is, and that's the thing. And that's once you realize that this is basically a live action version of the animated series with our original cast members, then I don't think it's nearly as bad.
We've seen this before in Ghostbusters 2.
Yes.
Ghostbusters
100%.
2, it's almost a live action version of the cartoon that it is a sequel to the original.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have to look any further than Delia. I really think that Delia is closer to the cartoon version of herself than she was from the first movie. Or she's some kind of amalgamation of both of them.
I think every character in this is some amalgamation of their cartoon versions.
Yeah.
But getting back to kind of the Wolf Jackson and Delores conundrum, if you will. Okay. I look at them as we need to fill the neither world with characters. Right. And if you remember, like back to the Beetlejuice cartoon, which I haven't seen in probably decades, but I remember that they added these weird characters. Like there was a spider girl who was in it and a cowboy, like kind of big hairy monster thing. Characters
Shock LeBones, I think.
Yeah, Shock LeBones. Well, that was one other ones. But like my point is that these were characters that were not in the original. They were just inhabitants of the neither world, and they just kind of complemented this world. And Wolf Jackson and Delores and all the other characters we see in this movie outside of the original, they complement this world. And one thing that you can say, John, and you can't take away from this movie, is that this movie does do the job that a sequel is supposed to do in expanding our idea of the world within this movie, right?
But it's a fine line between expanding and bogging it down in so much ingredients that it just becomes salt.
I don't see it as salt. I see it as they had all these really cool ideas, right? Their limit was the time of the movie, like how long the movie had to be. And that's why I say, like, none of this stuff in here was inherently bad. What I'm saying is that this should have been a series and not a movie. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Wolf Jackson's a bad character. I'm not saying Delores is a bad character. I'm not saying that the musical number to McCarthur Park is bad at all. I'm just saying that this is all rammed into a 2.5 hour runtime.
It's shorter than that, isn't it?
Is it shorter than that? I don't know. I mean, I didn't.
I think it's a shade under 2 hours, which.
But that's my point, John. Is like you kind of have to be aware of what are the constraints of the medium that you're working in. And the biggest constraint that working in a movie is that you have a runtime. And I think that Tim Burton got his mojo back with Wednesday. He really got it back with this one, and just kind of couldn't kill his darlings to fit the 2 hour runtime. But I don't think it's a bad movie at all. I think it does a lot of good things. Now, do we want to start with Wolf and Delores? Because I got a question for you about Delores.
All right, yeah, let's go.
Okay, all right. So, in looking on social media and on TikTok and other places, a lot of people have commented about Delores. One, they think that Monica Bellucci is hot. Guess what? She's been hot since like the 90s. It's not a new thing. Go watch Bram Stoker's Dracula. Just saying.
Her and Tim are hot dogs and donuts, right?
They are hot dogs and donuts, yes.
Yeah.
Tim Burton has a tendency to cast his significant others in all of his movies. Seriously, go back and look at just about every Tim Burton film. His significant others are in them. Actually, I don't think he dated anyone in Batman, Beetlejuice, or Edward Scissorhands. But basically, I'd say starting with Mars Attacks.
Well, it's like Lisa Marie Presley and then Helen Bonham Carter days. Yeah.
Well, Lisa Marie, not Lisa Marie Presley.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, I do that all the time. Sorry, Lisa Marie. Yeah,
Lisa Marie. So he just has a tendency to put his significant others in these movies, and that's fine. Whatever gets him off. I don't care. He was even dating, I think, Ava Green at one time, and that's why she was in like Dark Shadows and Miss Peregrine's Home for Gifted Youngsters. So the whole point is like he's gonna throw his women's in it, okay? But on social media, a lot of people have been saying, and the theory is that Delores isn't a bad character. She is a misdirection that we're the audience, we're supposed to, excuse me, try to focus on her and then not focus on the true villain of the movie, which is the little shit Jeremy, the ghost kid. John, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think there's validity to that?
I think it's one of those, like, it could be true, but it's also sometimes I see these things online. It's this theory explains the 25-year plot hole from Star Wars A New Hope. It's like, no, it's a plot hole. And I know that we don't like that, but I just think that she's an underwritten character because Tim felt like he'd be sleeping on the couch if he didn't put his lady in the movie. However, it could be misdirection, but I was watching this with Christine, and I think meeting the boy who Astrid, who plays Lydia's daughter, is the boy she falls for. I think she turned to me almost instantly when I bet he's a ghost, and then the next time she meets up with him, he's in the exact same clothes. She goes, he's wearing the exact same clothes. And then I noticed that we see both the parents in profile. It's like, I'm not really misdirected here. I think it's kind of spelled out pretty fucking obvious that this kid's a ghost and he's the surprise of the second act.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I didn't know that he was a ghost until it was revealed. Like, truthfully, I didn't pick up on that. And it was a thing where, like, I was like, okay, there's something off about this kid. One, why are we focusing on this weird, this kid who's, you know, just in this movie randomly? He's not at all related to Lydia or Charles or anything like that. So, like, it made no sense to me why we were focusing on him. And it was a little weird. And I did notice, like, when we saw the back of the parents' heads, but I didn't put two and two together that that was a ghost. So for me, there was a bit of misdirection by focusing on Delores. Where Dolores' character fails is in the ending, where the whole movie she's trying to catch Beetlejuice. She kills characters like Bob, which R.I.P. to Bob, best character in the whole fucking movie.
Poor Bob. Yeah.
Poor Bob. Best.
He already got his
character.
head shrunk.
He got his head shrunk and then he got his soul sucked out. But yeah, I mean, you know, she kind of it goes out like a chump in this movie, right? Like killed by a sandworm, and that's it. But like when we're introduced to her, you could tell like there was a lot of thought in her character when we were introduced, right? Like I love the whole sequence where she staples herself together and you've got the Bee Gees playing, which that song has been stuck in my head literally for 3 weeks. The tragedy song, Jesus Christ.
It's not that for me. It's MacArthur Park and MacArthur Park. With Beetlejuice things like "I'll be right here waiting," and I think that's as much as I can sing.
Yeah, that's as much as you can sing. But no, the Bee Gees tragedy has been stuck in my head because on TikTok that's what shows up. But my point is like we get some really good scenes. I love the explanation of how Beetlejuice died and her role in it. I
didn't like that.
Oh, come on, man.
I hated that. I think back to Tim's direction to Michael Keaton in the first movie. He's like, you're from every generation and no generation. I think that it's best if you keep Beetlejuice somewhat of a mystery. So I didn't like seeing him alive. I didn't like knowing how he died. I think it's just best to not. There are certain curtains you don't open. And it's not the same thing by any stretch, but it makes me think of when Marvel decided, wouldn't it be funny if Nick Fury lost his eye from an alien kitty cat?
I don't put the two in the same category.
I don't need to know his story.
But here's the thing. He says in the first movie, I lived through the Black Plague. And what do we get? We get him in the Black Plague. So it's not like it's out of left field, right?
But most of his lines in the first movie, I think they said something like 90% of the lines that Michael Keaton delivered in the first movie were improvised. So it's not like this is lore that has been built, you know, like this assumption that Tim Burton built this character from the ground up and he has 17 journals full of it. This is the exact story. No, it was just a improv line from Michael Keaton.
True. But what I'm going to hit you with, though, is that we're in a sequel now. And a sequel has to build off of what was done in the original. That is what makes successful sequels. So yes, in the original, that line about him living through the Black Plague and he had a good time during that, I mean, that might have just been a throwaway line. But it's now, because this movie has blown up and because this movie has been around for so long, it's become lore. So like if you're going back and writing a sequel to a movie 36 years later, you're going to look at what was done in the original. And I think that's okay. The reason why I love this sequence, okay, and this hits me as a horror fan, is that you didn't get a verbatim, like, let's go explore this character's backstory in a scene, right? You got a stylized Mario Bava ripoff in Italian.
Mm-hmm.
And I, as a horror fan, loved it. I was there for it.
Brian,
You know?
can you tell because I know most of our audience is not going to know who that is.
So Mario Bava was a very well-known and provocative Italian horror filmmaker. He made such movies as Black Sunday, and honestly, like I saw this, and I'm like, this is Black Sunday, like right here. And I love that. And I mean, if I'm going at it from the standpoint of, I want Tim Burton, the director, to make movies that he is passionate about, you can read that he is enjoying that scene, that he is enjoying everything about this movie, but especially that, because to break from, hey, we're in a normal linear storytelling to a very stylized, not in English backstory of this character, you got to have love in that. And I get that. And I understand why it was put in there. And I think that it's something that is interesting, you know? Does it kind of make Beetlejuice a little less ambiguous? Yeah. But I also go with, in my opinion, we saw more of Beetlejuice in this movie than we did in the last one. Even though he says that it was not as much. I think we see him more in this one.
Oh, he's all over the place. Yeah, and that's something else that I think is related somewhat to the cartoon, that, you know, with the animated series, the kids want to see Beetlejuice. You know, the movie is for any audience, really, but you know, it could be liked by kids but also adults, but it's mainly for the higher teenage age into adulthood with the movie. I mean, with some of the jokes that they have in the original film, but the cartoon, it's like, oh, the kids just want to see Beetlejuice, you know. Like the Tales from the Crypt cartoon when we were kids. I loved the Crypt Keeper, and my dad would let me watch the opening of Tales from the Crypt, but then I had to leave, because after I saw the Crypt Keeper do his opening, it's like, oh, now this is too adult for you, you know, leave now after you saw the Crypt Keeper. So when they did the animated series of that, I'm like, yeah, I just want to see the Crypt Keeper. So I think that the tons of Beetlejuice, again, is a reflection of the cartoon, because he's got to be in this 3 times more than he was in the original.
Well, Michael Keaton has said that he would only do it if he had the same amount of screen time. He says that. Yeah. I don't know if I believe it, though. I really think that he's in this like at least 10 times more.
Yeah. Well, maybe, I mean, that's also, you got to trust in the director, producers, and editors, where it's like, okay, Michael, we're going to shoot a shit ton of stuff, but trust us, we're only going to put you in as much as you were in the first one. Then they get in the editing room and they go, fuck Keats. we're selling this movie on Beetlejuice. Okay. No one's coming back for Delia, you know?
No one's coming back for Delia, but I got to say, I'm glad you mentioned Delia. So, Catherine O'Hara can do no wrong, in my opinion. Like, can do no wrong. Every time that she was on scene, she chewed up every last bit of scenery, and I loved it.
Okay, I'm gonna be a turd in the punch bowl again.
That's okay. They could be a turd in the punch bowl. I have a feeling that our audience will love this. By the way, yeah. Like, they don't want to hear just you and me go like, "Oh yeah, we really liked it." They don't want to hear that. They want to hear the fight. So go ahead, please, burst my bubble.
Well, the first thing, no bubble bursting, but the first thing is, I agree with you. She's fucking hilarious. She's fucking hilarious in anything that she does. She's fantastic. I don't think I've ever seen her where she's not been great. I just didn't feel that this truly matched the Delia of the first film in a way that I thought Winona Ryder just walked right back in to Lydia. I thought it was like, I'm like, oh, this is a 50-some-year-old Lydia. It's the exact same character. I don't know how she did that so easily, where I love the performance by Catherine O'Hara. I just did not feel like it was Delia.
Oh, I totally thought it was Delia. And let me tell you why.
Maybe the eccentric artist part, but like,
well, that's my whole point. So like, I know people who are the eccentric artists, really good friends of mine. And the thing is with the eccentric artists is, as they age, they become more eccentric and more loud.
That's fair.
Than they were when they were younger. So like, think about Delia. Delia was like in the 80s. She was the talk of the art world in Manhattan. She had a reputable agent, even though her agent said she was a flake, but she was always very avant-garde and very, she had her groupie Otho, just around her at all times. So like, I'm looking at her in the height of the 80s and going, okay, what does this character do in 36 years? And on top of that, how does this character age over that time period? Is she going to embrace new media and kind of add her own goofy, bizarro spin to it? Which, spoiler alert, she kind of does. So like, I completely saw that this was an evolution of this character to match the time that we're at. I agree with you wholeheartedly that Lydia did like almost like a glove. Walk right in. I did find it hilarious that she was basically Zach Baggins from Ghost Adventures.
I haven't seen that show. I think I've seen him.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You haven't seen Ghost Adventures?
No.
Okay. Your mission
okay.
Is to watch an episode of Ghost Adventures.
Done.
And tell me about it next time we record.
Okay, I'll be right back.
No, not right now. Not right now.
Okay.
Not right
All right, my bad.
Right now. All right now. Okay. Record the episode first.
Yeah.
but like what Lydia does, like her job of hosting the ghost show and going in the night vision and wearing basically her same outfit and searching for ghosts, like that is exactly what Zach Baggins does. But Zach Baggins are colloquially known as the Ghost Bros. That's what they're called. Because he wears tap-out shirts and has spiky hair. I haven't watched Ghost Adventures in a while, but, his whole thing of going into houses and yelling at ghosts saying, all right, show yourself, like that's the whole gag. And so seeing Lydia do a version of that and, like, that's her job, it was funny. And it was like, okay, that's an interesting way, like, how she would take, because I thought she would just be pure goth the whole time, but she's not really. And even Delia makes a comment to her, says, where's that annoying goth girl who ruined my life.
Yeah.
But now I didn't want to move on to some characters here. We talked about Lydia. We talked about Delia. What's your take on Astrid? Because I have some thoughts on her.
This is the only new character that I think actively dislike. Because I think that she's one of the few people that's given character and time to grow and act like a human being. She basically is it's surprising because it should be the other way around, but she's like even more cynical Lydia, like as her daughter, when I would say that Lydia, being a Gen Xer, should be a lot more cynical than what was she, Gen Z?
She would be Gen Z.
Gen Z, yeah. They're much less cynical and hateful, but I mean, she seems to be like Lydia on steroids. But that kind of, I think that works so well, not just for her as a character, but also for Lydia to be like, how the fuck do I deal with this kid? How can anybody deal with a kid like this? And then Delia's like, ha, like, welcome to my fucking nightmare. Now it's your turn.
Yeah, I have nothing against Jenna Ortega at all. I liked her a lot in Wednesday. And she was okay in X, even though she was kind of just there, I don't know. That's kind of me. A lot of people mention X. I'm like, whatever. I forgot she was in it. But I was like, isn't she just playing the same Wednesday character? Only this time she's allowed to blink her eyes.
A little bit. I would say that Wednesday is obviously such an over the top, like, unspeakably intelligent, borderline sociopathic, charismatic, almost demon like character, where this is just some moody ass girl who reads Dostoevsky and has mommy issues.
I wrote down here in my notes, I said she is the anti-goth mixed with environmentalism and an appreciation for ironically dead scientists.
Yeah. Well, she's smart. Yeah.
Well, she's very smart. She's very smart. But yeah, I was like, she just read too much to me like she was playing a version of Wednesday. You know what I mean? And maybe it was not necessarily like the version she played in the show Wednesday. But like, if someone told her, okay, I need you to pretend that you're Christina Ricci playing Wednesday and go, like, that's kind of the vibe I got from it, was like, I don't know. I really didn't care for her. But you are right on one thing, is that she was the only character who had any sort of arc at all, and the whole movie really is about, Astrid learning to accept her mom and, appreciate her mom. And I think that's
in her life
in
general.
Yeah. And just her life in general. Yeah. And also, Lydia's arc is, I don't know, to not be obsessed with the dead as much.
Yeah.
That's what we're presented.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're presented, is she, towards the end, again, spoilers. I mean, honestly, if you clicked on the episode, it's going to say, hey, there's spoilers. But yeah, she decides that she's going to leave her Zach Baggins show and decide to, be a mom for a while. So it's like, what? She threw herself into her work? Is that what we're led to believe? It's never really fleshed out because, as we said at the top of the episode, this movie's a burrito. It's jam-packed full.
She didn't know how to be a mom because her mother had, passed away so early. So she just shipped her daughter off. It's kind of like, reminds me of that movie Dutch, for any of our audience that have seen that movie, where
see the back catalog. We covered it.
Yeah. Where this woman has this horrible kid at a prestigious academy, and then she has to send her, while wealthy, very working class, dirt on your hands, blue collar guy that she's dating to go pick up the kid. And he is like the Antichrist. It's not the most well-written movie I've ever seen, but yeah, it's kind of like that. She just has sent her daughter off to be like, I don't know how to deal with you, because I didn't really have anything to base that on. And she's cynical about that. And there's the issues with the dad, where it's like, how come you can see all these dead people, but you can't see my dad? Who I was
part I thought was bullshit. Like the whole vibe with Lydia is that she can see dead people. Like, that's it. That's her whole vibe, is that she can see dead people. We literally get that in the beginning of the movie when she is in the bathroom and she sees a dead magician's assistant, But I do ask the question, why can't she see her dead husband? It's never really explained.
There's a lot of plot conveniences in there. There's that one. There's the fact that Alec Baldwin was on trial for third-degree murder, and Gina Davis, both Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin are really old now, and they could have tried to de-age them, but it's just like, we just need to write them out because ghosts can't age. And of course, my biggest problem with this movie is the handbook for the recently deceased will do whatever the narrative needs it to do.
Isn't that what it did in the original movie, though?
Well, I don't know.
It did.
I mean, there's a lot of loopholes and issues with the first one, but it's a lot tighter than this movie.
It is, but come on. The handbook for the recently deceased. I need to go ahead and talk to Juno, my caseworker. Go look in it, draw a door. I need to go ahead and exorcise the ghosts in the house. Go ahead, Otho, use the handbook. I need to go ahead and it's all there.
And the
same thing.
And the biggest issue with the original Beetlejuice 2 is not even with the handbook, where it's like, hey, Beetlejuice, you got to help him. Yeah, well, I can help him, but you got to marry me so I can get out of here. Oh, when was that introduced in the movie? Right fucking now.
Yeah, it's never explained why Beetlejuice has to get out. Like,
I guess it's like getting a green card to
I guess
human
so.
world. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's true. Like, even in this one too, where surprise, surprise, he tries to marry Lydia again. It's never explained why. Like, is it that you get your soul back? Like, it's never really explained. And that's an issue. Like I think it would have been interesting maybe to cut, even though I like the Mario Bava Delores backstory, if maybe we got a reason of why Beetlejuice is such trying to get out of being in the nether world,
Well, I think that lies one of the biggest problems with this movie, and I don't mean to jump too ahead here. We can step back if we need to. Is that Beetlejuice seems to legitimately be in love with Lydia?
Oh yeah, he totally wants Lydia.
And he's the creepiest, ugliest, most profane revolting, offensive character ever. But
watch yourself, John. That's Batman you're talking about.
he's a demon trickster, damn it. But at the end of the day, like, he seems to legitimately have a fondness for her and actually seriously wants to make her happy, which I'm like, so when he gets his comeuppance at the end of the movie, I'm like, this is almost kind of sad. Unlike the first one where he's like, I'm going to take this probably underage girl and marry her just to get my way, and then I'll probably try to do something creepy to her because I'm the evil Beetlejuice. But by the time we make the sequel, we all really like Beetlejuice now. So we want you to really tone down the extra creepy stuff and make him more likable because, he's now more of a product than he is a character.
That's one way of looking at it. I think it's interesting to contrast Rory with Beetlejuice because, as you said, like, they're two characters that do have a fondness for Lydia. We find out that Beetlejuice has basically been stalking Lydia from beyond the grave for like years. and Rory doesn't really believe half of this shit. And
which is unearned. Which is so unearned. It's like in Halloween 4 when it's, Michael Myers finds out there's another one of his family members and he wants to kill him. And it's like, why? Well, because Michael Myers likes to kill all members of his family. Why? Because movie. It's a like Beetlejuice
movie.
Because Beetlejuice is obsessed with Winona Ryder. Why? Because the script needs it, because we both got them back to sign on, So yeah, it's that kind of bullshit. But fuck Rory. Fuck this character.
Rory.
He is the most one-dimensional, badly acted, badly written character that almost derails this entire movie. And I got nothing against Justin Theroux. Sure, he's a nice fella. If I saw him, I'd buy him a beer. So it's nothing against the man personally, but this character is he's so obvious, so one-dimensional that it really feels like this is something written by a freshman writing student. He's so bad.
I mean, he does have the slick back hair. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
If the 80s taught us anything, anytime a character has slicked back, greasy hair, they're full of shit. Every single bad guy in the 80s, they had slick back hair. Gordon Gekko, Charlie Sheen, Wall Street, they're just go down every 80s movie, pretty much I'd say from 1987 all the way through 1990.
Well, even Christian Bale in American Psycho, not in the 80s, but takes place in the 80s, slick back hair.
Slick back hair. So all I'm saying is when I see Justin Theroux in the movie and he's like supposed to be her love interest, I'm like, that guy's full of shit. 100%. And he is. And you're right. He is very one-dimensional. But I also go with like, what is else supposed to do with him? You've got so much else happening in this movie. What else supposed to do with him?
But here's the biggest problem with this guy is when the movie, like other characters in the movie keep telling us that he's a lying piece of shit. It's like we did, first off, we already knew, but when every other character goes, yeah, you're a lying piece of shit. It's like, where's the big reveal when Beetlejuice at the end uses his like beetle magic to be like, why don't you tell us what you really think? And he goes, I'm just using you to I have more money if we get married than if I'm your producer. And we're supposed to go, I can't believe this character that has been spelled out from moment one is a con artist. It's a con artist.
Yeah. And that's, again, I go back to this movie's biggest problem is its runtime. If you had this movie be a series, if this was a series on Netflix, you would have time to develop Rory's character so that reveal would be earned, right? You'd have more episodes to give more examples of this duplicitous nature of this character. But unfortunately, you're hindered by a 2-hour-long time limit or however long fuck the movie is. So like that's part of the problem here is that you don't have time for all these characters to breathe and really get in. So like you have you're ultimately left with, I have to show that this character is a fucking asshole. So I got to have a moment of basically exposition. Cause let's be honest here. That's what that is. That was a moment of exposition, right? of him getting the truth serum and saying, yeah, my girlfriend really isn't dead. And oh yeah, I just use you for money. And oh yeah, I pick up chicks at mental hospitals. Like that's exposition. It's a dump. Because if this was a series like it should be, we'd see flashbacks of them in the hospital meeting each other. And then we'd see flashbacks of maybe them having real like connection, so that then when we get to this moment, it makes sense and it's earned. It's more of a shock. But I agree with you. Like, he's a one-dimensional character because he is quite literally the, I don't know, avocado thrown into this giant burrito.
Yeah, and you won't taste the avocado with all the sour cream.
No, but not with the sour cream, hot sauce, and rice. You won't, and beans especially.
But in this movie, Lydia has like a pill problem, and they could have treated this like there's a books and then a movie adaptation called The Girl on the Train, and in it, this woman about who's lost everything in her life, and she's this huge alcoholic and has been for years. And the movie's about just how much she's just this piece of shit who's fucked up her husband's life left and right and just screwed him over. But then you find out that he is just gaslighting her because she doesn't remember anything from her drinking, and that, she's like, oh, you cost me my job at the party because of my boss. Like, you threw up on him or something. And then near the end of the movie, you realize, spoiler alerts for The Girl on the Train, is that like the guy got caught with the boss's wife or something. And yeah, maybe his wife did throw up, but then in the morning he goes, you lost me my job last night because you embarrassed me and they fired me because you were drunk, and just lies to her and uses like, that to manipulate her and everything. Like, her pill addiction could have been something where he could have said something early on in the show, like, or in the movie, excuse me, that like, the only reason we have this show is because, I went to bat for you. Like they were gonna cut you off from the show, but I stepped up when you were really bad with these pills. And then you find out, like, when he's confessing everything at the end, it's like, they didn't want to get rid of you. They wanted to get rid of me. I was lying to you the whole time. Like, they could have had him been sincere and then realized that everything he was saying was complete bullshit at the end.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. They glanced over the pill addiction. They really did. It was like, you had one scene where clearly Lydia's taking pills still. And then it's mentioned about how she went into like a rehab for mental health and probably addiction too, but it's never really explored. And again, it's like you just don't have the time in a 2-hour long movie.
There's cutting room floor stuff.
There probably is cutting room floor stuff, but like that's the issue with this movie, is that there's too much stuff going on to focus on one thing. And it doesn't mean that the movie's bad. And that's one thing I really want to drive home is I had fun. John, I think you had fun too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, this movie, for me at least, there were moments, and I haven't had a moment like this in the theater in a long time, where I was actively like yelling out to the movie. Have you ever done that?
Mm-hmm.
Where you're reacting verbally to the movie. Like, when she's about to say Beetlejuice, 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 and she stops, I actually said it. My wife was right next to me. I said, don't say it. like that never happens. And maybe that's nostalgia. Maybe that's because this movie hit me straight in the nostalgia balls. But I mean, either way, I had fun. But it's a jam-packed full movie. There's a lot here. And the things that we're talking about here can't be ignored either. One question I had I wanted to run by you is, how do you, what's your opinion of how they treated Charles in this? Because this was a dicey thing. How do you feature a character when the main actor is kind of a pedo? And when I mean kind of a pedo, I mean he's a pedophile.
Yeah. I mean, obviously not Charles Deetz, but the actor.
Jeffrey Jones.
Jeffrey Jones is, he's into some child pornography. What can we say? You don't know everybody you're going to be working with in Hollywood. Sometimes it backfires on you. But I think they could have simply just done the funeral. I know that there's a problem when you have a movie that deals with the afterlife and people after they're dead, that the question would be, if Charles died, why not see him in the afterlife? But I think they could have just maybe glossed around it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the whole like train to heaven, like maybe he got on it, or train to the afterlife, and they could have been like, oh, my dad lived such a great life of watching birds. He must have already gone on the train to the afterlife. And so, yeah, I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe the question also too is, did Jeffrey Jones, did he make any money on his likeness? Which I think they kind of got around having to do that, but that has to be a question that needs to be asked as well.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was interesting to use claymation the way they did, because you don't see that anymore, ever, So seeing a claymated version of Charles and then seeing him get eaten by Jaws, or not Jaws, but just a shark, was an interesting way of having the character there, but then also like saying, yeah, we ain't going to show him. And I did find it funny that when we actually did see Charles, we only saw like the bottom half of him and his little like, whatever was left of his esophagus just splurting out blood and talking, because it goes back to, the line in Beetlejuice, the original, when, Barbara's like, is this what happens when you die? And the receptionist is like, no, this is what happens when you die. That is what happens when they die. It's all very personal. And like, clearly that's what happened to Charles. So like, it makes sense to me. I thought it was probably the best way to kind of include him, because obviously like his inclusion in this is important. It's important to have him in this to some degree. And I'm talking about his character, because his death is the thing that brings them all back to the house. So you kind of have to have it. And it is the thing that kind of killed Delia too.
I mean, do you think that if Jeffrey Jones had just been a normal guy about town and not been a sex pest, do you think that the movie would have still revolved around his death?
No, I think they would have changed it. Absolutely. I don't think they would have killed him off.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think they would have killed him off. Because think about it. Like, if he didn't have his legal issues like he does, he was a interesting character in the original. Okay? Like, having that difference between everyone else in that house was one of the aspects that made Beetlejuice, the original, really good, right? We talked about it last week when we had Anastasia Elfman on, the whole thing where Charles just wants to fucking relax in his house watch his fucking birds, but he can't because the man's clearly gone through a mental breakdown and this is his way of recovering. Like, that was a nice part of that original. So I think if he was not a gross, disgusting sex pest, then yes, absolutely they would have included him. They would have found another way to write this in a way that still gets them going back to the house. But maybe it is more along the lines of like, the Maitlands being kind of central to it rather than Charles being central to it. Maybe it is more about, the Maitlands just, we had a ceremony and the Maitlands found their loophole, which, by the way, biggest crock of shit explanation I've ever heard of in a movie.
What are they supposed to do? Both those actors are like 60 something now.
Tough shit. You know what? Here's what I go with. Michael Keaton is 70.
He can hide behind all the Beetlejuice makeup.
But he's still 70. He still looks like he's 70. You're telling me, John, you're telling me that you couldn't put Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin in the quote unquote classic blue and dark eyed like ghoul type makeup and say, here, they're still here, but they've aged, and you couldn't have an explanation there? I think you could have. I think they could have. They chose not to. I think part of it was because of Alec Baldwin's issue at the time.
Yeah, that's a
with,
big
you know,
thing,
the
too.
shooting.
Well, as Christine brought up too, is that they could have had their like transform faces from the first one, and there's like they can't get them to like change. So you
Like
just
they're stuck.
yeah, like they do voiceover. The actors do the voiceovers and have like people with the prosthetics on like trying desperately to fix their face. You know, like sorry, I look like this. I can't seem to fix it. Like, why were you even trying? You know,
All I'm saying is they had options. They chose not to explore those options. Maybe it was because they realized, hey, this movie's jam-packed as it is. We don't need to add 2 more legacy characters. I go with that's kind of a shitty way because the original movie was mostly about them. And the one question that I had from that original movie was, what happens next? How do these ghosts and these living people coexist in the same household? You know, that would have been something to explore. And also I did find it weird that Beetlejuice did not have a tiny head in this movie. Because what happened at the end of the original, John?
well, yeah, he also has like a thriving business too, bro.
Oh, he's outsourced his entire bioexorcist business.
I think that's supposed to be one of those like a lot happens in 30 years.
A lot happens in 36 years. He somehow managed to find another voodoo witch doctor to make his head back to normal.
What is this, like the Belgian Congo? Why are there like witch doctors in like the late 80s? But
I don't know. All I know is apparently there's a lot of tiny head people in the afterlife, or in this case, the neither world. Let's be honest here. This is the neither world.
If Beetlejuice, because this is the cartoon. If Beetlejuice could fix his own head, why doesn't he do that for Bob and everyone else? The prick.
Because Bob is adorable as is. He doesn't need anything. He doesn't need anything. Before we wrap up, though, I do want to hit some of these reviews. I have a couple reviews. John has not seen these. Nope, he has not seen these, so he doesn't know what the hell I'm going to be talking about here. So let's go to a first review. And these are, of course, reviews from Letterboxd. Not all bad ones. Not all bad ones, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at these first couple reviews here. So this first one here is, I get it, Tim. If I was dating Monica Bellucci, I would also write her into my movie for no reason.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, look, I date an actress, and I know I might be in some trouble if I don't find a part for her somewhere. But so I could dig that, but at the same time, it's not when the character's completely pointless. Or if you're like Rob Zombie, and you know he's like, "Hey, Soylene Moonbeam, or what's his wife's name?
Sharon Moon Zombie.
Sharon Moon, yeah. Like, hey, I was thinking about maybe casting somebody else, you know," and then she comes at him with a knife. Because Rob Zombie cannot make a movie without his wife being the lead star in it. So, I mean, you're in a tough spot when you're dating a high profile, beautiful leading woman and be like, I think I'm going in another direction, honey. Like, yeah, well, I think I'm going another direction on opening my legs. So, I don't know.
I gotta ask you one question. This is something that always bugged me about Tim Burton. What do you think it is about this man that he constantly gets women of this caliber, like Monica Bellucci, Ava Green, Helena Bonham Carter, Lisa Marie? What the fuck is it about this weird motherfucker that he's just, I don't get it. What's your theories?
He's weird, but it almost seems non-threatening, but he's also weirdly successful. It's not a matter of like, I work at the local community college. I barely scrape by. I make paintings out of my like semen and blood. And like I'm a weird eccentric artist who's been called geniuses by some and crazy by those who lament me. But it's like, oh, this person seems like dangerous and odd and doesn't have a scent to his name, and he really should not be painting with his bodily fluids. I mean, this guy, he's out there, he's talented, but he's successful. But most importantly, his weirdness does not seem threatening in any way. So he's
guess
intriguing. He's intriguing in that sense.
I guess so. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Like, this guy is literally what every weird kid wants to be.
Yeah.
Every weird boy. Let's be honest here. Every weird boy growing up, you wanted to be Tim Burton. That's who you did. You wanted to be him because look at him, the man. He's himself. He's goofy. He's off the wall. He's dark, and he ends up getting some of the most beautiful actresses in Hollywood. And I just don't get it.
Well, I can't speak for most of them, like Monica Bellucci or Ava Green, but I do, if I'm not mistaken, Helena Bonham Carter, she's kind of a weird cat herself. So,
well, let's be honest here. They're all weird.
Yeah,
like,
weird
all
attract
of them,
weird,
all of them are bizarro.
And I don't mean weird in a bad way. Weird's good. Weird can be good. Weird can be bad, but weird can be good too.
Yeah, I just know like they're all weird, but they're that exotic weird. Mm-hmm. And he's able to like catch him without even blinking an eye. And like Monica Bellucci, like she was married to, what was it, Vincent Castle?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. So like supermodel, 5-star actress. And I don't get it, but more power to him. But yeah, I mean, you're going to cast your lady, whatever. I just wish that they would have given her more to do, especially towards the end. That's my thing. She was a good character. They gave her a lot to do in the beginning, but she kind of went out in the weakest way possible.
Oh yeah. At the end of the movie, and I don't know if we want to talk about the whole McCarthur part thing, because I think it's worth discussing. But at the end, he just goes, yeah, hey, look, this guy wants to fuck you. Look, he's got a shirt on and says he loves you. She goes, oh, your Beetlejuice magic's working on me too. And they're both like in love, and then a sandworm eats them and turns them into poo, which, as we've discovered, by the way, that in this movie franchise, that doesn't mean you're dead. Eventually, I guess the sandworm poops you out on Saturn, and then you just go back to the waiting room like Beetlejuice does. So literally, Beetlejuice's entire problem in this movie is not solved at the end of it. Eventually, Monica Bellucci will be pooped, and she will return to trying to kill Beetlejuice. So nothing is actually...
And John, that will be a plot of Beetlejuice.
Maybe she'll finally have a character in the third one. That
would be something smart. Maybe Tim Burton, if you're listening to the episode, because our friend Anastasia Elfman might send this your way. Maybe go ahead and do that.
And also, Tim, Keats ain't getting any younger, so don't put this one on the back burner.
Yeah, please don't wait another 36 years. Oh shit! All right. Let's go to. I'm the ghost with the most speed. My dick fell off. All right. Let's get to review number 2 here. Okay. I feel like I just watched a full season of Community on acids.
I've seen, I think, the first season of that show, but I'm not quite exactly sure what they're saying.
I totally get it.
It's because there's so many characters.
Well, yeah, there's so many characters, but like the thing with the show Community is like I've watched I think I've watched 3 seasons of it. But like there are some episodes in there that are so off the wall bonkers. Like there's a zombie apocalypse episode in there that makes no sense why it's there. But like you've got some really bizarre characters in that. Joel McHale is ridiculous. You've got Chevy Chase who's in it.
For a short period of time.
Yeah. But yeah, so I get the reference here. You're talking that it's a jam-packed full movie with a lot of characters, and it's trippy as all fuck because you're in the Netherworld. So I get the reference there. All right. Review number 3. Here we go. Later fucker. Tim Burton should definitely do.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's fucking go. All right.
Again, the title, Later Fucker. Tim Burton should definitely do a spinoff to the afterlife, and I would be seated. Way better the second time. I just embraced the craziness and weirdness of it all, and I had a good time. Yeah, I had a good time too, and I loved it. When he said, as what he said, as Dostoevsky would say, later fucker. Every PG-13 movie's got one F-bomb, and that was it.
Yeah, and later they had to bleep it, which I thought was kind of a funny joke, but also kind of like, what the fuck? You know.
Well, they got one. You got one.
There's another narrative thread that just ends as Beetlejuice like can do anything.
Oh, the Jeremy character?
He's like, haha, yeah, I'm gonna get myself back to Earth now because I made Jenna Ortega sell her body to the afterlife for me.
And Beetlejuice goes, nuh-uh. And it's like, oh, that's over.
that whole thing did seem a little bit like, you know, when you were playing action figures and you make up storylines as you're playing the action figures, like, my Batman's gonna go ahead and kill the Penguin, and then the Joker's gonna show up, and then Mr. Freeze is gonna show up too, and then Catwoman's gonna be over here. Like it did feel a little bit like that, and I personally didn't really find Jeremy to be at all menacing, or threatening. Like, he's supposed to be a kid who killed his whole family, so you would think like we would see maybe glimmers of that, and you don't. You just see this Gen Zer, you know, milquetoast character.
But Brian, speaking of like going into the neither world, we keep calling it the cartoon, the afterlife.
It's the neither world. I don't care what anyone says. That's what it is.
Is that there's a humongous, ginormous plot hole that I didn't even consider till I read
Which
it. Which
one? There's a couple.
Is that when you go into the neither world or to Saturn, time does not work the same way that it does on Earth, except in this movie when it needs to for the plot.
How so? I didn't catch that one.
Well, the first time in Beetlejuice 1, the first time that Gina Davis tries to step outside, it's Alec Baldwin steps outside.
Alec Baldwin steps outside first, yes.
And Gina Davis pulls him inside, and he's been out there for, in movie time, about 4 seconds. She's like, you've been gone for 2 hours, you know. And when they go and talk to Juno, their caseworker, they come back. It's been 3 months, even though it's only been a few hours that they've been talking to Juno. Like, there are ginormous time jumps that come from being either on Saturn or in the neither world, except again at the end of Beetlejuice when Gina Davis goes and grabs the sandworm and rides it in the exact same time to kill Beetlejuice. Again, Beetlejuice 1 is not a perfect fucking movie, folks. Okay, we get it. But there's no time issues whatsoever with characters entering and exiting the neither world, human or dead.
Interesting. I didn't think about that. I really didn't. But you're right, because the way that they're in the neither world and the way that they're in Saturn, it's never an issue where we've lost time. Like, they show up at the church for Lydia's wedding, literally like no time has passed, or like the requisite amount of time in the movie universe has passed, right? Like that it felt like, oh yeah, you were gone for like an hour and you're an hour ahead in, you know, the real world. So I didn't think about that, but you're right. Time does kind of, the whole idea of that weird, like, you know, time shifting thing doesn't happen in this sequel.
Yeah.
But again, I'll go back to, this movie's a giant Chipotle burrito. Okay. They can't fit everything in there.
Remember Beetlejuice? Remember Lydia? Remember the house? You remember? Remember sandworms?
Remember Delia? Remember how wacky she is? Remember the Maitlands? Well, no, you don't remember the Maitlands because they're not in this one. Oh, shit. All right. Let's go to our last review here. Bob deserved better.
Oh, yeah.
Damn fucking right.
Hashtag justice for Bob.
Justice for Bob. I did not have Bob the Shrunken Head guy on my bingo card as a breakout character.
Nope.
That everyone would be losing their fucking minds over. I had no idea that character, but like the movie leans into it. Like at the end or the end credits, you've got, the R.I.P. Bob 2024.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God, love Bob. So good. So good.
Can I talk about something? Because I feel like we're getting towards the end here.
Yeah.
Can I say something that maybe is just unique to me or a very few handful of weirdos that really bug me about this movie? Is the idea of a train to some kind of afterlife. And the movie does a very good job of not posting a religion to it. Although they essentially do kind of, without saying it, heaven and hell. And you can ride that train to the afterlife. One thing that I always loved so much about Beetlejuice is the nihilistic outlook on life and death that the first movie had. Kind of, that your death could be and probably will be worse than your life, and that you're stuck in this continuing monotonous DMV of an afterlife, and nothing fucking matters, and everything sucks, and there is no God, and it's all just one big fucking joke. And the movie, whether it meant to or not, kind of lays that out. And dear audience, I am essentially an agnostic atheist, but that doesn't matter to me in terms of this movie or life in general. If you, whatever your religion is, like, if you practice it in the right way, I sounds like a loaded thing to say, but like if you practice the way that your faith presents it and don't use it for like political or personal ideologies, I don't care what you believe, and I don't care if they're what other people want to present in terms of their creative art. I just don't think it's the right way to move for Beetlejuice, because I don't know if they intended that, but it really did feel that there was this kind of nihilistic look on that life is meaningless in the first movie. And for them to be like, just kidding, there's a train where you can go where there's puppies and orgasms and milkshakes, it's like, oh, kind of.
I have a question for you in response to your question. Okay. So do you think that maybe the reason that there is a change in that messaging might be because that Tim Burton is 36 years older?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think you hit the nail right on the head, because this reminds me of George Lucas and Steven Spielberg for the fourth Indiana Jones movie. It's like, maybe the real treasure was being all together, or whatever Indiana Jones says. It wasn't the aliens.
That's the real. It was the aliens. It was being together
with my wife and my kid.
And my
I don't
kid.
Know why
you won't get the hat.
What?
Why does Indiana Jones sound like?
It actually, you know what? It sounds like Beetlejuice doing the cowboy voice.
Well, it sounds like you're doing Beetlejuice pretending to be Harrison Ford and Hulk Hogan all in one character.
Hey, brother, I'm Juice with the loose.
Maybe family was the real prize all
brother.
But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, you get real soft when you get older as a filmmaker, and that's not necessarily always a bad
You
thing.
say soft, I say realizing your own mortality.
Yeah. But but he set up this world, and I need to state, like, we always say that, the be all end all of a movie is the director. Like, this was not Tim Burton, director, producer, writer. This was a movie that had gone through maybe 20 drafts before it landed in his lap, and they said, hey, weirdo who made that Vincent cartoon, you make this movie now. And so it wasn't his idea, but I did feel that, like, yes, now that he's getting older, it was kind of like, okay, take the cynical edge off, and yeah, maybe they can go to the milkshake puppy orgasm planet,
I mean, I don't know. The way I read it was just that these were writers, because I think the writers from the original were also involved in this one. So
probably consultants.
Yeah, but either way, like I looked at it as, this is through the eyes of a filmmaker who is 36 years older. and probably has had way more life experience in those 36 years that may have changed or altered his view from when he was 36 years younger. And if that's the case, then it explains why you would have a softening of his stance rather than be a, yes, life after death is meaningless, and enjoy the life you got because death is hell. You know what I mean? So like I just saw it as like the filmmaker's 36 years older. His point of view is going to alter in those 36 years. I know that if I were to go look at my own stuff from when I was younger, probably would be different than what I would do now.
Right. But if you had also established at 10 years ago, Brian, established lore that people adored, you know, you wouldn't necessarily just go back and rewrite the rules either. Like, you could have looked at the movie The Flash, to talk about Michael Keaton revisiting his older characters, and Bruce Wayne could have been like, oh yeah, I can't be Batman anymore. Why? Because you're too old? He goes, no, because I believe in pacifism now, because I'm getting near death, and I think of Alfred's death all the time, and it really haunts me. And so I'm actually going to just do a prayer, a healing yoga circle for you guys, you Flash boys, while you go fight him, because that's what I do now, because I'm getting up there in age, and it's just like, no, I want Batman to kick people, so
yeah. But here's the thing though, John, and this is what I'll fight you on. Again, people, that you're getting your money's worth with this episode. I really believe that the vast majority of the public isn't seeing that original Beetlejuice the way that you are seeing it and the way that we are seeing it.
Mhm.
The vast majority of the public is there for the gags. They're there for the character of Beetlejuice. They're there for the Netherworld. They're there for the goofy shit. They're there for these characters. They are not there for the underlying subtext, because that's not what sells tickets. It's not. So
it's the football team on the stairs dancing with Lydia. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is like, you and I get that subtext. And clearly Tim Burton probably had that subtext when he made Beetlejuice. But this is also Tim Burton, who's gone through 36 years, made countless other movies, was previously ready to call it in and never direct a movie again after Dumbo, okay, because of how badly it failed.
Yeah.
So like, this is a character, this is not a character, but this is a filmmaker who just wants to play with his toys from 36 years ago again. And I got nothing against him for that. And that's okay if he wants to go a little softer. And that's okay if he wants to not have this level of subtext in it. I'm okay with that, because I really don't think this movie is meant to quench that thirst that you and I have for that. It's not. Okay? Because guess what? This is a legacy sequel after all. Okay?
No.
It is hitting on nostalgia. I don't think it's nearly as bad as other movies that have tried to do this thing where they hit this legacy sequel thing. It's not nearly as nostalgia bait in your face, but it's there. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. But yeah, I guess my final question to you, John, is do you think there's going to be a Beetlejuice 3?
Looking at the box office, yes, absolutely. But also looking at the box office, can you get everybody to play again? And when you've introduced this many extra characters, it's not just a matter of, hey, can we get Winona Ryder again and Michael Keaton? Like, the only two we need. Well, we killed off Delia. She's gone, and Justin Theroux, we don't really need him back. But, it's like, oh, well, you need Jenna Ortega. Her career is only going higher up, and maybe Michael Keaton was like, I always wanted to play Beetlejuice again. It was my favorite character, but once is good enough for me. And no matter how many boatloads and trucks of money you bring are going to bring me back. And it's like, maybe Willem Dafoe has a contract thing where he can't come back. And, and well, Monica Bellucci will just be like, of course, honey, this is the only way you get the jobs of blows. But
that's Russian. She's not Russian. She's Italian. God damn it.
Oh, hey, baby, the whole town was family. There's how you get your jobs of blow there, Tim.
Your jobs of blow.
We're just disintegrating. But yeah, no, I think it just matters of getting everybody back, making sure that the budget doesn't get too ballooned and insane, and also, yeah, getting it done before Keats is just too fucking old.
I mean, if box office dollars are anything, there's going to be a third one. And I mean, you also keep in mind that they've already set this up with Beetlejuice. So it's like you've already got it set up where there's at least going to be a third one. And regarding all of the actors in this, every single one of them has had nothing but like great things to say about the experience of working on this movie. And that's because of the fact that, I don't know, none of them had to work with a giant green screen the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
Like, they actually built things. They had, animatronics and stop motion and real sets. And even Jenna Ortega was like blown away apparently by the fact that you could act with real things. Like I think I read in an interview that she just had so much fun with the fact that they were doing like real practical effects. And it's like, holy shit, you could do that. And I think I was seeing that like the budget for this thing, I think was like 100 million. I don't think it was a lot.
Which compared to like the 300 million for Indiana Jones 5.
Well, it was apparently originally this was going to be a direct to Max original. This was not going to be theatrical, and Tim Burton fought back and like did everything he could to keep that budget low so that they could actually put this thing in theaters. So, I mean, I think it is absolutely within the realm of possibility that there becomes a third one. And I mean, hey, might as well while you can. I also don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Keaton plays Batman again, and does kind of what we all want, which is a Batman Beyond version. Which, come on, Warner Brothers, get on that.
Yeah, get your shit together. People will go.
People will spend money on that.
Yeah,
can tell you right now, they will. Oh shit. Well,
Brian,
John,
sorry. Before we wrap up, I just gotta. I know
you gotta talk about MacArthur Park.
Okay, so I fucking love this.
I'm keeping all this in. I don't care if it's a long episode. Fuck it. Yeah. Who cares?
I think people probably want us to talk about all the stuff that's going on. And you know what? If they're listening to us while they're mopping the kitchen floor or using Excel at work, they probably don't care if we're running long. But I loved how insane this was. And I knew at the beginning when it was like the ding, 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 and you like from the opening, like daylight come, but it's like McCarthur. I'm like, what the fuck is going on with that? I want to see how that turns out. And this fucking ginormous dance scene with the MacArthur Park of all fucking songs, which is a love song, which is weird to think because I always thought about it as a song about a cake. But I kind of loved how insane this was. And it does not seem like a choice of a 68-year-old director. This seems like of a much younger director. So I appreciate the sack on Tim for being like, this is where this fucking movie is going to go. And yeah, I loved how it was. And this, to me, is like, this is where I realized something. Tim Burton is John Waters if he was straight.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, you're probably right there. So I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I liked it. I also thought that this was trying to be the 2024 version of Deo.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, you can't you can't replace that original ever. But I loved what it was. And I mean, clearly Tim Burton had a Spotify playlist of 1970 songs that he was cycling through with this one. But yeah, no, I thought it was interesting, just like with the Mario Bava scene, to throw that in. Because this is, let's be honest here, as much as this movie is a Beetlejuice movie, this is Tim Burton on film. This is him. This is him returning in force to his roots. And more power to him. I think we've wanted that for a long time. A Tim Burton who isn't afraid to just be fucking weird. You know? And be okay with being weird.
Well, he's not under the shackles of the mouse anymore. So
I never understood why that man decided to go work for the mouse again when he already got out. I know, John. I know they just gave him money. I know that.
Yeah, for those that didn't see, I just did the money squeeze.
He did the money squeeze thing because you have to describe what you're doing, John, for our audio only listeners.
Yeah.
Okay, they can't see you be like Mr. Burns and go, yes, money.
Excellent. Yeah.
Excellent. I'll take that mouse money. No, I never understood why he went back to go work for Disney, because clearly, like, they don't want him to be weird. They've never wanted him to be weird. That's why Ed Wood was a Touchstone Pictures film.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't want that. They want sterile. They want weird enough. They want hocus pocus.
I was gonna say they want Hocus Pocus 2 on Disney Plus streaming now. Yeah.
But no, I'm glad you got to mention McCarthur Park. So just final thoughts, John, on The Ghost with the Most, Part 2.
What a mess, but what a delightful mess. I have, and I'll keep this short, but I have almost kind of an alternate version of this script that I think would be more compact, but I don't think it would be as interesting because I think it would be too derivative of the first one. Like I kind of have almost a Home Alone 2 of Beetlejuice, and that's if somebody has moved into the Maitland house, the model is still there, and Lydia still has her show, but for the most part, she is perceived as a hack fraud because while she can see ghosts, she can't see them consistently enough to do a show. And usually the places she goes are not real ghost places to begin with. So they have to fake the show mostly, even though Lydia can see ghosts. But they get this hot tip that the house that she grew up in is being haunted by a ghost that, has been reported through legend that there is a Beetlejuice lurking around in the scale model that has been kept on the attic long after the Maitlands have left. Still use the get out of jail free card, get them out of there. Because you just can't do it. So, but she comes to do the show, and in the process, Beetlejuice breaks free, and we get the Freddy Krueger Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, where he sees Lydia and gives that kind of you that Freddy Krueger gives to Nancy, and he realizes that he now has his old nemesis in the house, Lydia, because she's come to explore, is this actually going to be my show for real? Is the ghost with the most actually haunting the same house? Is he trying to pull up his old tricks again? And, and then maybe start bringing in a couple of the other storyline elements from the existing script. But would that be one pass that I would do with the script? Having said that and thrown all of that extra shit out there, I had a really good time with this movie. I have a lot of problems with it, but I had a really good time. And that, to me, has made all the difference. No, it's more important is that I had fun. My logic part of my brain and my cerebral part of my brain kind of goes, no, there's too many issues. But I'm like, but yeah, I got to see Michael Keaton play Beetlejuice again. And for me, that's kind of enough.
Fair enough. I know for me, John, I mean, I had fun sharing my love of Beetlejuice with my wife, with my daughter, and her best friend. This was my daughter's first time going to see a quote unquote scary movie in the theater. As a lover of horror and as a lover of Beetlejuice, that means a lot. So, like, for me, at least, that was great to see. I had so much fun watching this movie. From start to finish, I had fun. We all had fun. We were laughing. We were yelling at the screen. That is an experience that you don't get with every movie. And honestly, it's an experience you don't get even with really good movies. Okay? You know, we talked earlier this year about Dune Part 2. I loved it. I was over the moon about it. Did I yell at the screen? No. Was I engaged for 2.5 hours? Absolutely. But it was not a movie that I would, you know, that would give me so much joy to watch that I would be like, oh yes, no, this is one that I'm going to turn on a Sunday afternoon. You know, love Dune Part 2. Do not get me wrong. Honestly, I would say that's probably my top 10 for the year right now. One of the top 10s is Dune Part 2. But with Beetlejuice, I mean, that I was expecting a train wreck and I didn't get that. And it's very easy to be cynical about legacy sequels. It's very easy to be cynical about, you know, Hollywood just trying to milk our nostalgia because that's what they do, right? But this one just felt to me like, even though it was problematic at parts, and even though it is a Chipotle burrito when it comes to its plot and it comes with its characters, when you boil it all down, it's a fun Tim Burton movie, and it's Tim Burton on screen for 2 hours. Okay. It's that man's personality, his imagination, his creativity on screen for 2 hours. And we have not had that in a long time. So that for me was a great takeaway. Do I think that people will remember this? And this is the big question though. This is a big thing that I think it's still the jury's out. Do I think people will remember Beetlejuice in the same way that we remember the original? I think there's room for it. And I'll tell you why I think there's room for it. I think there's room for it because of the fact that it's been so long since we saw these characters. And this was done with such reverence for those characters that you can't not think about it. And I hope they make a third one. I really do. They would be stupid not to make a third one. Just don't wait 36 years because Michael Keaton ain't going to do it. One, I think he might be dead by then. Yeah.
The man grew up in not the best part of Pittsburgh. So, yeah, you know, he had a rough childhood. Okay. Although he looks fucking fantastic.
He looks fantastic.
Yeah.
That man's in his 70s. He doesn't look like a day over 50 or 60.
I would say, yeah, I would. If I didn't know, if the man was not a famous person, they said, well, how old is him? I'd be like, he's 52, 53.
Yeah.
Oh.
No. Did you see the behind the scenes pictures that he actually took his grandkids on set? Like what type of, I'm going to go see grandpa today. What's he doing? Oh, he's Beetlejuice.
He stresses the ghost. Yeah.
What was he doing last year? He was fucking he was Batman. Yeah. Can you imagine that? Your grandpa is Batman.
The McCarthur, Brian, as a special effects person, did they put Keaton up on wires or did they just do that all in post-production?
I think they put him up on wires.
70-some-year-old man up on wires. God damn.
I think they probably put him up on wires. Even if they did like post effects with it, they'd still have to put him up on wires.
Yeah.
They just shoot him against a green screen. You know.
Yeah, his one granddaughter was kind of looking at him like, what the fuck's what you doing, Grandpa?
This is what Grandpa does.
My other friends' grandfathers go fishing.
They go fishing or they go golfing. What do you do? Oh, I go and dress up like Batman or Beetlejuice. Oh, fuck. Well, this was a fun movie to talk about, and I'm glad that we didn't see eye to eye on everything because that just makes these episodes more fun. Yeah. With that said, John, where can they find you at on the internets?
Well, all you need to do is say my name 3 times. J-Dubs, and I will appear. No, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me at Instagram. And most importantly, if you do like me on this show, and I know there's probably at least 20% of you out there that do, and you want even more unbridled me, go over to J-Dubs Video Nasties over on YouTube. You'll see the thumbnail of me going, per our visual audience. And subscribe to that channel because you're gonna just get like unbridled John looks on where I question logic problems of movies. I check in on older movies to see if they hold up over time. I got interviews there. I talk about film anomalies, so all kinds of different stuff. So yeah, and if you do watch my videos, but you don't subscribe, you gotta help me out. I mean, just hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. And it really helps out the channel, and you might see more videos if you like the kind of movies I'm talking about. Like if you're like, I like Demolition Man, I talk about a lot of 90s movies. So just, maybe if you subscribe, you'll get more information for further movies down the line. So yeah, do all the YouTube things if you like me on this show. It would really help me out. And that's my long-winded response.
Help John out, please. Help this man out. Please give him subscribes, okay?
I'll dance for subscribes.
He'll dance with subscribes, say his name 3 times, and he'll show up and, he'll sing MacArthur Park to you too and try to marry your daughter. But for us here, do me a favor. If you've really loved this episode, and you want to share this episode out, that does a lot for us, okay? So do me a favor. If you love this episode, share with a friend, okay? You can text them it right now, okay? You're on your phone listening to this. Just go ahead, take that link, and text it to your friend. Say, hey, you got to check out this episode's podcast because these guys go deep diving in on Beetlejuice, okay? And, we've got like 300 and what? It was like 22, 23, 24 episodes.
I think we're further than that. Yeah.
We're further than that. We you got a lot of episodes, so there's a lot to choose from. Outside of that, if you want to subscribe to the podcast, okay, or not, it's a follow. It's follow now. You can go to cinemapsychoshow.com/follow. And we got links to all of the different podcast apps right there. You can literally click one button and boom, you can follow us on all the favorite applications. We've got Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, got them all there. They're all there. Just press the button. And of course, if you are on here on YouTube, just like what John said, just right down there in the bottom, you see that little thing there in the bottom, the little graphic? Okay, just tap the thumbs up, okay? Tap the follow or subscribe button on here and hit the bell, okay? I don't think you understand, okay? YouTube only wants to show our content if people subscribe and hit likes and comment and engage into that stuff. So do all of those things, If you really hated Beetlejuice, leave a comment down in the comments. We'll respond to you. I'm pretty quick on that sort of thing, okay? Do all the things that help grow our podcast, okay? That's all I ask, okay? And with that said, we will see you next time.
Beetlejuice Baby, available in Spirit Halloween everywhere.